Hey everyone, I'm Jenna.
I'm Clint, and welcome to the Enchanted Parks and Ports podcast,
where we chat Disney, Universal, cruise lines, and beyond. Welcome, listeners. Welcome, Clint, to the Enchanted Parks and Ports podcast. So happy to be here again today. This time to chat resorts. I love a resort episode, but specifically we're chatting value resorts, a little bit of like everything you need to know. What do we say when we say value resort at Walt Disney World? And what are some options? What are some highlights? Right?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that sometimes doesn't get enough praise or press, right? But it's probably at least 30 or 40% of your vacation, if not more, depending on how you do the parks.
Yeah, absolutely. And the value resorts are interesting because I have a sense, I don't have stats on this, but I have a sense that they're often people's opening into the staying on property universe and all that comes with like truly being in the Disney bubble. So it's a lot of like people's falling in love with the Disney bubble and Disney resort hotels. So it is one of those, oftentimes people are nervous thinking how, like, do I want to stay on site? Do I not? That's often a debate. And we're going to chat a bit about the value resorts as why you would shift over or what these resorts have to offer too, which is great. And we both have stayed value and many times and enjoyed or had really magical experiences.
I choose value still to this day. Like, depending on the style of trip and what I'm choosing to do, this is one I access on the regular. So I will be excited to share this with listeners and just kind of being transparent with our listeners. A couple of things are happening with this particular episode, right? One, our Imagineering department continues to give us great feedback. One of the things they've suggested is some things that we can potentially do to improve our sound. So we're trying those on this particular episode. So if something goes funky, it does mean we've probably had a technical difficulty, and you're just going to have to stand by with us as we kind of sort some things out. So if there are some hiccups in this episode, guys, it's not us losing our stuff. We are literally just trying some stuff that's new in order to provide you a better product.
Or if you're like, whoa, this sounds amazing, then it's somebody taught Jenna and Clint how to use microphones, friends, because apparently it's not just plug it in and talk to it, which I didn't know. So I appreciate the Mic 101 that we received earlier today.
Yes, it was hugely helpful. And then part two to that is we are banking some content. I'm just going to share it with listeners. And we're doing that because my wonderful friend and co-host here has a great trip coming up that's going to span both the parks and a cruise. And we're not going to be bugging you to worry about podcasting while you're enjoying all the magic with your family.
I'm going a little MIA for a hot minute. I will be. So my plan is to post during parks content and then go fully MIA during cruise content. So maybe by this time that it will have aired, maybe you followed along on my trip and all of these things, but we have to get a couple episodes under our belt before I disappear for a month.
Yeah, so this one, we're going to bank some things. So the news is going to be a little bit different this time around. So Jenna, we've got a little bit of news in reference to water parks. What's going on that front?
Well, first of all, thank you, Disney gods, Disney Universal, like whoever decided this. Thank you. Thank you, officials, because we have both water parks. We need both water parks in the summer, especially if there's a resort perk. We learned that last summer, and Disney came through again to say with the free water park perk for resort guests during the summer months, which starts May 26th, that both water parks will be open for this perk, which is huge. And they actually both open a little bit before that too. So if you just want to add a water park day in later May, you can. That perk doesn't jump in until May 26th, though, with the start of Cool Kids Summer. That's kind of looped into there this year, as opposed to an all-year perk like it was in 2025. This is a summer special. So yeah, both water parks are coming back. I know that you are not a frequent water park goer, but
I've never been.
You've never been, but you're going to Disney in July.
Yeah, so the definitely going to be balancing that against park days, those kinds of things,
Yeah.
because I think for me this is that huge bonus. It's like getting a obviously you're getting a park day without paying for it.
Yeah.
And so from that standpoint, I know folks who are now bending their flight and travel plans around trying to arrive early enough, not necessarily like rope dropping the water park, but early enough to maximize some time between, say, a water park and then Disney Springs, something like that, that extends a stay on that check-in day differently than maybe they would have thought about in the past.
But honestly, in my experience of doing this last year in April, I am not against you rope dropping a water park, especially if there's a resort perk going on. Get there early. If you're staying on property, they'll still let you in if it's anything like last year. If you're not staying on property, you for sure want to be rope dropping the water parks if you're going when this perk is on, because they will cut off attendance at some point too. So this is, it's one of those and we have a prime water park situation set up that we like, right? Like we want to be in the toddler splash area for my family. So if you have something like that in mind, you also want to get there early for this.
Yeah, definitely getting there earlier. And this thing opening on May 13th, as you said, just gives you some time if you want to bake a day in at the water parks, those kinds of things. Florida gets warm quick, so not going to be a weather challenge, those kinds of things. And to your point, Jenna, what I love about this with both parks being open, both these parks have their own personality.
Oh,
right?
Totally. Like they are their own vibe, their own storyline. Like I really like that these parks have storylines. That feels very uniquely Disney to me. It's almost similar to the Disney Springs. There's a storyline that you could catch or you could miss, but it's integrated through the theming, right? And they're each unique storylines. So I love it. The sneezing alligator in Blizzard Beach, so good. Like love that guy. So I am a bit partial to Blizzard Beach myself, but Typhoon Lagoon also tons of fun.
Yeah, I think for me, Blizzard Beach would be the first one I'm gonna hit up. So we'll see what happens this summer. But also staying in the news and kind of May 13th being this day that some stuff is happening. So for any of our listeners who are taking a trip that encompasses this May 13th date, one of the things you've really just got to be aware of is Magic Kingdom is going to close for a private affair on May 13th at about 5:30.
Yeah, this means no fireworks, my friends. There will not be fireworks before 5:30. So if you are going to Magic Kingdom that day, brace thyself for no fireworks in park.
Well, and I'm just going to suggest, because I was the guy who said, closing early, Magic Kingdom, not me, right? That was a space where I'm like, I'm losing the time, those kinds of things. Here's what I'm going to share with listeners is if that's your perspective, I'm going to challenge you, because often on these days, people who are having a one park per day ticket don't go to Magic Kingdom. This place is dead. And so your ability to cruise all over the place with, roughly 20 to 30 minute waits is regular. And if you're hitting a rope drop and doing some of those kinds of things, man, you can crush this park in the half day, or not even half day, more than half day, be done at 5:30, catch a great dinner reservation someplace, complete your day, and have had as much Magic Kingdom on that day as you would have a full day when the park is open and everybody else is there.
And then if you have a park hop ticket, even more golden, right? Like this would stuff like this, or like holiday seasonal party stuff, is the reason that often pushes me over the edge to suggest park hop to people. So this is one of those, if it's not on your ticket, think about if it should be.
Yeah, that's a great pro tip for folks. It's just, how do you take advantage of these times when people are making decisions to not be in the park and you're able to capitalize?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go back from the parks to the resorts. And let's start with, which resorts are we talking about? Because we know there's over 25 Walt Disney World resort hotels, but not all of them fall into value. We have different categories of resorts. We have value, moderate, and deluxe. We're chatting value today. So which resorts are we talking about?
Yeah, and as you mentioned that, Jenna, with 25 plus resorts, I mean, we're talking a plethora of resorts across property. And what's interesting is the value category is one that is only a very small portion of that entire spectrum on property. And so from that standpoint, we are talking kind of what I would say is the trifecta of the three all-stars, and that's movies, music, and sports, that kind of are very closely co-located together, more towards the Animal Kingdom side of property. I think that's actually the closest park with these three. And then you've got two other options in Art of Animation and Pop Century. So those 5 resorts kind of as a cluster fit into the value resort category.
And technically speaking, the campsites, but we're not going to talk about them because they're their own world, their own adventure that is different than a resort. So yes, there are campsites for anyone being technical, but those 5 are the ones we're talking about. Disney's All-Star Resorts, which are all sister resorts, and then Pop Century and Disney's Art of Animation, which I love.
And very geographically disparate, right? We talked about stars being much closer to Animal Kingdom, kind of on that side of the Disney bubble. And then you get Art of Animation and Pop Century that when we get to transportation, they get a little bit of a bonus, or a whole lot of bonus, in regard to a higher tier of transportation. So as we think about these value resorts, Jenna, why you talked a little bit about them being potentially this entry into the Disney bubble.
Yeah.
So when might you be choosing a value resort as your stay? And then we'll talk about the amenities and the things that they happen to bring.
Okay, when am I choosing a value resort? One is I'm budget conscious, but I want the Disney perks. I want to book my dining as early as possible for the length of my trip. I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. every day, 60 days out for the length of my trip. I want to book it in one shot, right? I want the lightning lane advantage of staying on site and booking those early. But I don't have a ton of $bucks to be shelling out for some of these deluxe resorts on the monorail. You know, like that's really what it comes down to for me is I know that I want to be on property and I want the ease of that and the perks of that, but I'm being budget conscious.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I would just throw in is kind of a curveball to this is those times that I am very little time at the resort. I mean, literally it is, I may, get there late on a check-in day. I'm probably going to crash from my travels. I'm planning to be that guy at rope drop. Like I'm rope dropping the bus. I'm rope dropping the parks. I'm doing all the stuff. I'm staying till park close, and I'm coming in, I'm taking a shower, I'm passing out, and then I'm doing that on rinse and repeat across the length of my stay.
Yes, I think that's a big one too. And what I would add to that is I've done Disney enough that I know that's how I'll actually do it. Because what I worry is people think that's what they're going to do. And then they realize the magic of a midday break and X, Y, and Z. And then they think, oh, wow, I'm spending a lot more time at the resort. And maybe I would have liked a water slide or X, Y, and Z. And I think that's how people actually move from value often to moderate or deluxe. So when I'm choosing it is I know that I'm going to be park heavy. Or I have a bunch of things that I'm for sure that's how it's going, or we're adults only. We know this is the vibe, etc. The other one I might add is in terms of when I'm converting from, let's say, a Good Neighbor resort to an all-star or something on property, is I need the ease of being on property. Like I want to, for example, for me, I'm thinking too, if I'm traveling solo or if, my travel party is not coming to the parks every day with me or something like that. If I'm traveling, let's say with the girls and my mom, I'm not staying at a Good Neighbor resort because I need the ease of experience of getting on a Disney bus and getting to the park.
Yeah, so let's jump in right there because that is a huge perk, right? Is the baked in transportation that you get with being at a Disney resort. So, I have stayed in the Disney bubble at a Good Neighbor hotel and they are fabulous. But one of the huge drawbacks is they say they run shuttles and they're not incorrect in that. But those shuttles are maybe once in the morning, once in the middle of the day, or they're at best on the hour, which means you're very, very truncated. So that you think about if it's running even at best on the hour. So I'm going to be there on the hour, and then I've got another 20 or so minutes to the park. Like I'm losing chunks of my Disney currency.
Yeah.
Through waiting on transportation where, largely a majority of the day, Disney buses are running max of 20 minutes. And at some of the resorts, you can catch them every 10 minutes or so.
Oh, yeah. During peak times of day, too, they are just hustling. Like, I don't know about you, but I've never actually checked in advance on my phone what time a bus is coming before going to the bus stop. Yes, I look up at the board when I get there and go, 3 minutes from now, right? But I've never had to check a schedule because I know one is coming in like a second. Hopefully I have time to fold the stroller type of coming, right? Like it's prompt, it's easy, it's efficient, and it feels very safe and clear to me. It's like I go here, I get to the park, Disney is taking me back. It just feels very much like you're immersed in this experience.
And for all of these resorts, you can count on using bus transportation to the following locations, right?
Yeah.
Universally, Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom, you are catching a bus from any of these locations to those parks via bus.
Yes.
And at All Stars, you're grabbing a bus everywhere.
Yes.
And the thing is, I don't hate it. I am the efficiency guy. I am the predictable guy. And what I love about Disney buses is they are both of those things.
Yeah, they are. And they're like going to be there. They're going to be consistent. You know that it's a perk. It doesn't cost you anything extra outside of what you paid for your package, right? So, no matter where you're staying, you're getting bus at some point if you're going to those two parks. But then there's this other transportation magic at two of the resorts, right? So Disney's Pop Century Resort and Disney's Art of Animation Resort are across the way from each other, right? And they're on the Skyliner. The thing that connects them is a bridge going to the Skyliner, which is a huge advantage. Skyliner being the gondola system that flies you to Disney's Hollywood Studios and Epcot, as well as other resorts that it connects you to. That is just such a perk. And I honestly sometimes am shocked that value resorts are on the Skyliner because it just feels like such an advantage.
It's a huge advantage. And it's one of those things that if you have a desire, say after park close or whatever it is, to still enjoy some of Disney's nightlife, like you want to hit a lounge, you want to do some of those kinds of things, I would suggest listeners lean towards a Pop Century and Art of Animation because it opens up that slice of Disney for you from the standpoint that being on the Skyliner gives you Riviera, gives you Caribbean Beach, it gives you you can get a boardwalk, you can get yacht, you can get beach, you can get swan, you can get dolphin. You've got all of these other resorts that are so easy to get to that have a lot more amenities to offer that you can access without having paid the dollars to access to that.
Oh, absolutely. And even beyond like the lounge life, even just the quick service options or the dining options to make reservations, the character dining, right? In those resorts you named, there's both Topolino's and Cape May, which are character meals. Like that's huge for families. The other thing for me, and I know I understand people who have listened for a while have heard my rants about strollers, but it just is a big part of my life at the moment. And on the Skyliner, no folding single strollers. Like, sleeping child can remain sleeping child. Coming back from Epcot all the way to my room at Art of Animation. Magic, magic, magic. And no folding double strollers if they're one in front of the other.
Yeah, kind of that tandem style versus the side by side.
Yeah. And was that a consideration in which double stroller we bought? Maybe, but we still ended up going with a side by side. So if you're in that case, you do have to fold those ones. But it is just to say that you have this advantage of kind of the ease of experience of that. And you often get your own Skyliner car with your party. You get that Skyliner moving so fast. Like, it doesn't feel physically fast, but the efficiency at which it's moving people, it just makes your mornings and your access to midday breaks so much easier, right?
It is. And it is a game changer, I think, for families with toddlers, multi-generation, those kinds of things where, 50% of your parks you can breeze to in a much different way. So something you mentioned just a little bit ago, Jenna, that I caught it, but I'm not sure listeners caught it, but I'm going to draw some attention, is you talked about folks who may have one view of their park, kind of access and trip, and then maybe that shifts while they're in kind of the bubble.
Yeah.
And then they end up desiring some amenities that wouldn't be naturally at a value level resort. And you mentioned water slide.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk us through that.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that are going to make you jump category in Walt Disney World. If your resort, it's kind of a rule, unspoken rule. No one told me these are the things, but this is what I've observed. If your resort has table service dining, a sit-down restaurant that is not a quick service food court, it is not a value resort. It is a moderate resort or up. If your resort has a water slide, it is a moderate resort or up. Those are kind of the two key ones. Yeah, you look like you're questioning.
A question on that, because is that universal? Because I wonder about Art of Animation. I know Art of Animation's pool game is legit. Like, I think Splash Pad or something kind of similar, as well as a heavily themed pool. I'm drawn, to be honest, a bit of a blank. Do they have a slide, or are they still no slide?
They don't, because they would easily be a moderate if they had a water slide. They don't. So it's the biggest resort hotel pool on Disney property. It's super fun Finding Nemo themed. It has 0 entry, which really matters to me as a young kiddo family. And it does have a splash pad. Now, the splash pad is big in theming, not big in features. So it's big in, oh my goodness, this is so cool. I'm the size of a fish and I'm like playing around this reef thing with these fountains. Amazing. Not big in features in the way that, like, next door, Disney's Caribbean Beach, their splash pad, you're going to get slides. You're going to get more like water to play in, water features, things that are going to give some diversity of play and keep your kids probably playing longer, to be honest, right? Not that a fountain can't go a long way, especially a Nemo themed fountain. Like, trust me, it's gone a long way for my family. Love it. But you do see a difference in what splash pad means at value versus at moderate, certainly versus at deluxe.
Yeah, and at the All-Stars, we are talking themed pool, like as the main pool. Now, the All-Stars do have quiet pools that are also a kind of in a more remote location, but the main pool heavily themed to whatever, whether you're sports, whether you're movies, whatever that looks like, right? And you're gonna get a solid pool game. They're not huge, but they are enough that people can spread out and really enjoy them. And again, if you're not digging the main pool scene and you're somebody who's like, I still want to, kind of dip my toes in the water, midday break, those kinds of things, you do have that option of a quiet pool in a couple of different locations across these properties.
Absolutely. And I do like so general rule that's well known at Walt Disney World, no pool hopping. You pay for the pool at your resort, right? Exceptions are sister resorts. So it is kind of fun with Disney's all-star resorts that, in theory, if you had a rest day, you could go check out a couple pools. They're not that far of a walk from each other to go be like, I want to swim in the guitar-shaped pool at Music, even though I'm also wanting to check out the surfboard pool at Sports.
Yeah, I think that's great advice because, again, just a way to mix it up, right?
Yeah, why not?
To give yourself some options, and you can, I mean, this sounds like a far distance, but you can walk from Sports to Movie and less than half a mile, right? It is not that far. And you know, it's easy, sidewalked the whole thing. And so nothing lost in doing that without having to think about, you know, carrying a bunch of stuff, whatever it is.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And then you have some, and it's interesting because I do see there's the all-star resorts that kind of have similar features. And then Pop Century and Art of Animation have some similar features in their own way, right? They have the Skyliner, and they each do have a bit of an elevated little kiddo water area. So Art of Animation has the zero entry, and they have the Nemo splash pad area. And then Pop Century has quite a nice kiddie pool. Like, it's not just a smaller pool off to the side of the main pool. It also has fountains, which is fun and actually adds a lot to a little kiddie pool because it's enough for kids to play in the water. It's not just like kind of, you know, tarmac with spouts. There is a pool. And there's the fountains, which can just add a bit of interest. So I am a fan of those two for the, I'm going to spend more time at the resort because I can get back quickly from 2 parks. And I have these like slightly elevated splash areas.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And let's be honest. I mean, most kids are going to go, pool, great, I'm in.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to be going on a scale of 1 to 10. This
Yes.
pool is a 3, where another pool is right. They're not doing that.
It's not how, but you know what it is? It's because I'm in toddler era. And so I'm not quite at the stage in my family's journey of a pool is a pool and I'm 6 years old and I know how to swim. So this is awesome. I'm at like I need a splash pad that's going to entertain you enough so I can relax. And that is safe. Like, so I can sit beside you and I can feel relaxed. You can feel entertained. I'm not having to hold you in a pool for 4 hours. So this is where that matters, I would say. And then your 6-year-old, they don't care. Let them hop in all the all-stars pools, maybe. But that's maybe where the difference is.
Yeah, great disclaimer. So we've talked pools a little bit, but again, you're giving some windows into some different things that I really want to make sure we're exploring. So you talked dining.
Yeah.
So let's talk value resort dining and what people can expect, because it's much more similar. Because of they're in the same category. Obviously, it's much more similar, but you don't get quite the same difference with Pop and Art of Animation compared to the All-Stars in this way that you do with the pool game.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're talking a really similar vibe, right? We're talking one main quick service location and a pool bar. Unless I'm missing something.
No, that is exactly it. And a lot of times what you will find is menu items are pretty similar. Yeah. You've got your vegan, vegetarian options, some things like that. You've got a pasta option with multiple proteins. You've got your burger/sandwich option. You've got your pizza option. And then you've got your tried and true, most glorious Disney chicken tenders on the menu. And really, that's what it looks like. Breakfast, you're getting, some small kind of complete breakfast options. You're getting your bagel sandwiches, some of those kinds of things. Desserts, yes, they have them. Is it a lot of variety? Not really. And then I think the other thing that I would give huge credit to the value resorts is also you have a grab and go section, right? You've got that are refrigerated, that are prepackaged, that you can grab a sandwich, you can grab a salad, you can grab yogurt and fruit and this kind of stuff. Like if you're on the hustle, they're still taking care of you.
Yeah, which is great. My one differentiating point, maybe in quick service breakfast, is you can get Simba waffles or Cars waffles, right? You can get Cars waffles. I'm not making that up. You can get,
I believe that that's true,
waffles with all the characters represented at Disney's Art of Animation Resort, which is exclusive to this property. This is not a thing at other resorts. At other resorts, you get your Mickey waffles. And trust me, I love a good Mickey waffle, but it's kind of fun to have something a bit different too, especially if your kid's really into that storyline, staying in that Cars suite, getting kind of that extra fun character thing. So watch out for those if you're staying at Disney's Art of Animation.
Yeah, they're all providing you resort mugs. I mean, that game is the same. So there's a lot of equal in this regard. I don't believe that the sitting space is much different. Like there's a lot of sitting space. Typically, you're not having to throw elbows to catch a table like you do in the parks, those kinds of things. You know, you don't have to go to trash can table time in order to find a space to put your stuff down. So that is fabulous. The one thing that I would also share with our guests and our listeners is you can mobile order from these locations, and that is a major win when you are midday break, headed back to the resort. Maybe you haven't eaten yet, you're hungry, or for us, the go-to move is I need something to close out my day before I go back to my room, because if I'm going back to my room hungry, I'm not happy.
And so that's a really good tip. And I will say these, again, because there's one quick service location and you're not splitting it up with people doing table service dining quite as much, right? They can get busy. So there's no reason not to mobile order. It is a great way to bring a bit more ease to your experience. And you can go out and explore more, look around these resorts. They all have larger than life theming. That's another kind of commonality in what you're going to find there is those giant statues themed to whatever that resort's theme is. Go explore those. Your kids will love looking around at them, right? You'll love looking around at them. There's amazing photo ops at these resorts. It's super fun. And then just wait for your food instead of waiting inside with all the peoples.
Yeah, completely. And I do think that they try to give you those photo op opportunities. They have, I would almost treat the spaces between the buildings. I mean, they set them up where there are common play spaces. Yeah. I've seen chess sets. I've seen, different other games, Connect Four, some of this kind of stuff just in those spaces. At sports, you get these giant ball fields. I mean, if you bring a football or a basketball or some of those kinds of things, you can use them. I mean, these spaces are big enough to enjoy for just kind of kicking around and playing.
This is a good point, because let's talk play for a minute, where we've spoken about water, but let's talk dry land playground situations, because these matter as well in young families' lives. Art of Animation has a Finding Nemo playground that's right beside the splash pad, pool, skylight, like in that main area. It's a really nice location. Also, the whole resort feels like a playground because it's the larger than life statues are all characters your kids know and love. There is an elephant graveyard area in the Lion King area that's not exactly a playground, but it's not a playground. Like there's not things to climb, etc. But running through an elephant graveyard, I would have been in my imaginary Jenna element for a long time as a kiddo doing that. Whereas the Finding Nemo playground is actual slides, etc. Pop Century's playground, though, a bit hidden and so underrated. It is an awesome playground. Like picture a great park in your hometown. That's what this playground is. So it's out of the way. It gets some good shade. It's a perfect spot to have your little ones blow off some steam.
Yeah, and then as far as I know, none of the All-Stars have formal play areas other than the things that they're providing with the kind of the flat space that's available between the buildings, right? And they're going to be good. Like if you're doing, a game of football on the football field, they're going to be great with that.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think ahead with those things, and just know that they're out there and available. So I think some other things that we need to kind of include and think about as we talk about these resorts is all of them have gift shops, right? I mean, you can get some of those things that maybe you forgot at home: sunscreen, toothbrush, toothpaste, some of that
Swim
kind of
diapers. I'm looking at you past Jenna changing resort rooms without swim diapers. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But those are the things that you need. And then they do have the things that are some of the wants.
Yes.
You can get a small degree of Spirit jersey there. You can get, some of the toys and different things like this. It's on a much smaller scale, but they do have them there and available.
Yeah. And I will say Disney's Pop Century recently got a little upgrade of their gift shop. It's pretty expansive now. And to be honest, I hadn't frequented it before said renovation, but I was impressed when I was there a couple months ago with the amount of variety that I could find. So I was quite impressed with the gift shop options that are there. Even we were looking for last time we were in Walt Disney World together, there was a hat that I saw at Epcot that I wanted to get for Lou and was trying to, in my mind, think, how are we going to get back to Epcot? And sure enough, they had it at Pop Century. So they have a pretty decent selection in their gift shops usually.
Yeah, and some other things that you get, they do have an arcade.
Yeah.
At many of these resorts. They do have pay-for laundry facilities. So if you got to do laundry while you're there, you have that availability. So these are just some of the things that you can count on at all of these resorts that don't feel like you're getting something that is incredibly less than, as you compare it to what I would say are your average run-of-the-mill hotels that you would be staying off property at. And, we've mentioned a lot of other things that you do get by staying value. And honestly, for me, Jenna, one of the things that I would caution listeners, you may be looking at that $130 room off property, maybe something even a slightly better than that. But if you think I got to Uber to the parks, or I got to rent a car, or I've got to get transferred, like all of those kinds of things, start adding that up as part of what your conscious spending is on your vacation. And I'm going to guarantee, and unless you're getting a deal that I haven't seen in Orlando maybe ever, I'm going to guarantee that gap slams shut really quickly towards the pricing of, say, an All-Star Sports or music.
Yeah. And there are also some, like, one of the other things that I hear for people who say, but it's not going to work for me, is space. People who want space. And that's a fair point if you're trying to weigh that out. But I will say, why do you want the space? Like, think it through if it actually is because I'm going to use it, or if it's because I imagine myself spending more time here than I actually am going to be, or I want to make sure I have a nice pool. Well, trust me, the resorts have a nice pool. Trust me, the resorts have a lot of these amenities that actually will make your vacation feel easier. I always go back to that Airbnb that we rented in Orlando when Abby was 1. We walked in the door. She walked right to the table where they had a beautiful decorative glass ball, and she grabbed the ball and threw it because it's a ball on a table in a place that we're on vacation. And it was literally like 33 seconds after we arrive at this Airbnb, and I look around and my mom eyes could just see everything that was like not actually set up that well for families. And then I remember doing but thinking, but we want the full kitchen. We want the separate bedroom. We want our own pool. I will tell you, my trip to Art of Animation with her when she was 2, way more relaxing. Everything's thought of, even things I didn't realize I needed someone to think of have been thought of. for me. So I just really hesitate to be like, yes, an Airbnb will actually be a easier experience as a young family. I just think you should trust me.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jenna. I mean, and we've had a very long history of visiting Walt Disney World, staying on property before we made the switch to property. And there is no going back.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and did I mention that the splash pad was also closed the whole time we were there, but no one had told us in advance? Because why not? Not on Disney property. This was at the Airbnb complex,
Yeah.
or it might not have been Airbnb, but that style of kind of rental property, right?
But, and to your point, you had that situation happen that you talked about on a recent episode where Splash Pad is closed unexpectedly for refurbishment, those kinds of things. What happened?
Disney took care of us, right? Disney said, okay, here's a better option. Here's another option that actually makes sense, that works for your family, right? Whereas what happened in Vacation Rental World was, hey, the splash pad's not working. Oh, yeah, it's broken. Womp, womp.
They're not doing they can't do anything about it. They don't have the resources.
Right.
Disney's got the resources.
So it's just to say, yeah, like there is a big difference. And there are some different types of room categories that can also give you more space, right? So let's chat a bit about room categories.
Yes, let's do. So thinking about, and again, choosing your resort in this particular way is a separator across these five, right? Yeah. And so at Disney's All-Stars, the sports, movies, music, you get basically three types of rooms. Mm-hmm. At sports and movies, you get two types of rooms. You're going to get a standard room. You're going to get a preferred room. What separates those two? Location, location, location. Preferred rooms, much closer to the main pool, much closer to transportation, the main kind of complex building. Standard rooms, further out at those two. At music, you can get a quote unquote family suite that does have a fifth sleeper in that particular room.
Well, a sixth sleeper, actually, right? Because you get the three beds, which is really great for certain size families where that's just what they need, right? You don't get a separate sleeping space, which is worth it to kind of know, but you do get the three beds from my understanding of these rooms.
Yeah, I haven't ever been in one, but that is my understanding also. And so from that standpoint, could be a great value, bigger space without killing your budget, right?
Yeah.
This is one thing for families who are like, man, we want to go, but we're not sure that this is going to work. And where you're not worried about multiple divided spaces, like you're okay with the giant common room kind of thing.
A great example is I have 4 kids. I don't have 4 kids, but in a world where I had 4 kids, that's probably the room I'd be booking.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, right? Great. We're all in one room and there's enough sleeping space for all of us. Plus, there's a kitchenette, which means an actual fridge. Because lots of these rooms have beverage coolers, which are not actual fridges, my friends.
Yeah, they call them a mini fridge, but again, that is a little bit being generous.
They're beverage coolers. And so it's just for, certain families who know that they're going to need a fridge for X, Y, and Z reason, or you're going to be doing a little bit of like breakfast in the room, that kitchenette upgrade can be a big bonus.
Yeah, grocery delivery order. We talk about that as a way to kind of save some money, start your day, make sure you're resourced well in your room. And, cold things, be careful because you may not have the space for it depending on the room category you choose.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we have Art of Animation.
And Pop Century, right?
Yeah. And Pop Century, we're going to get the same vibe of standard and preferred options. Preferred being, again, location. And when we say that, we mean just location. Like exact same room, just closer to transportation, pool, main areas. Art of Animation's a little bit different. She's got mostly family suites, which mean separate sleeping space, 2 bathrooms, kitchenette.
Yeah, that 2-bathroom is a big deal for a lot of families.
And one is an ensuite to the bedroom, which is lovely for if all your kids are in the main space in the fold down bed sleeping and you've gone to bed and you don't have to worry about waking anyone up, all of these things, right? So it is perfect for getting ready early. Great for young families, or again, those families with 4 kids who are just not able to do it in one hotel room most of the time.
Agreed. Now, I do have a bit of a caveat with these family suites at Art of Animation, and I bet you know where I'm going with this, and that is value level resort. But suddenly you start thinking about these family suites at Art of Animation, and you could get a little bit of sticker shock taking a look in comparison, even to a moderate resort on the lower end, because that gap closes a little bit when we start thinking about this particular room type.
Absolutely, it does. And you're going to notice that the most if you are a family of 5 or less, where you can do one room at a moderate, sometimes even a deluxe, for a comparative price, right? If you need to go 2 rooms moderate, you're going to notice the hit a little bit less. But again, you're still getting the value level amenities at the resort. You're not getting the water slide. You're not getting the kind of upgraded splash pad. You're not getting kind of X, Y, and Z things at moderate resorts, but you're still paying quite a bit. And what you're paying for is space and theming. That's what you're paying for.
And I'm going to come back to the theming. Like, I think listeners might ask then, whoa, Clint, why would I bother to book this family suite at Art of Animation versus going to a French Quarter, going to a Port Orleans Riverside, one of those types of places, right? And I'm going to say, if you want full on in your face Disney theming, like that is your thing.
Yeah.
You're a Lion King fan. You're a Nemo fan. You're a Cars fan. This space is second only to Cars Land in Disneyland, or I'm sorry, Disney California Adventure. I mean, it is that good.
Yeah. The theming is really top notch, really immersive. And okay, this is going to be very niche, but people who understand this are going to understand this. You also get an interior entrance, which I care about. I don't like the exterior entrances as much as interior entrances to your hotel room, which all other values and most other moderates, you're going to have an exterior motel style entrance to your room. If that matters to you, this is one way to get an interior entrance.
It is. And the other thing I will say, I'm not quite sure about Pop Century, so maybe you can check me on this, but I know Art of Animation, pet friendly.
Ooh, I don't know off the top of my head if Pop Century is on the list of pet friendly, but Art of Animation certainly is.
It is. And I don't think Pop is, but if you're one of those who wants your, fur baby with you on vacation and they're well-mannered and all of those kinds of things, and they can hang out while, maybe you do a morning and then you're coming back to the resort, whatever it looks like, it is a separator.
Yeah, it's true. And even just to have that space for them that's kind of familiar, right? Like there's a bedroom, there's a living area. That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
If you're currently nervous because we just said that and you're like, oh my God, I'm so allergic to dogs. Can I stay at this resort? Just get your travel agent to request a deep clean before you arrive, and they can absolutely do that.
Yeah, pro tip right there. So I think we've gone through pretty deeply about value level resorts. These are ones, like I've said, I still access them. I think they're fantastic. Do I hit some of the other resort types? Absolutely. And these still have a place in my Disney universe.
Yeah, these are, for our family, these are split stay world for us right now. Like, we love a deluxe moment. We are who we are. But we also, sometimes can't stay deluxe for a week on end, or are strategizing around park location, right? Where it's, okay, for our Epcot Hollywood Studios days, we're maybe going to choose Art of Animation Pop Century. And then for our Magic Kingdom Day, we're going to up it to deluxe for that kind of realm, right? So yeah, we also access value resorts on the regular, or even if it's a last minute trip or something like that. We like oftentimes these resorts get you to the Disney Magic at a price point that is surprisingly reasonable. I often have people surprised when I quote a value resort.
Well, and what we know right now, again, depending on the dates and availability, there are, for Disney Plus subscribers right now, a great deal at All Star Sports where you can get a $99 a night.
Even Art of Animation, the Cars suites are... I did the math recently when I was quoting someone, and I was like, cool, that's less than I paid for a Little Mermaid room last year. Yeah. I'm pretty sure on a special offer. So there, it was just the car suites being included is mind blowing. So that's great.
Yeah, and it just tells you that Disney's trying to give you access to a broad range that can meet your needs. So, all right, I know we wanted to end this episode, as we always do, with a little bit of fun. So, Jenna, you've got some things for me in this particular case.
I do. I have a value level resort themed rapid fire.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, ready? Best room. Out of all the value.
Best room. I'm going to go with the Cars themed suite. I mean, for me, I haven't stayed there, but I have seen a lot of photos. This is one where, again, you walk out of that main space, you're headed towards your room, and you feel like you're walking through Radiator Springs, and then you're going to end up in a room that is completely immersed in that Cars way. I'm going to be all about it.
Oh, totally. Even the cone pavilion or cone cabana situation at the pool.
Yes.
How fun is that? And practical. Love it. Okay, so best room, Cars Family Suites. I love it. Best value bite.
Best value bite.
Is there one, like something in particular that's your go-to? It might be your chicken tendies. I don't know. But what is your go-to order if you're staying at a value resort?
No, I'm trying to think back to what do I do in the evening? And people are going to be like, you do that and then go to sleep? And I'm going to be like, yes, I can. But my go-to when I come back from a park day and I am like, I want that before I go to bed, there is nothing like splitting a chili dog with one of my kids after a park day. Little chili dog, little French fry.
Nice.
Yes, that is brilliant.
I love that. I love that. And now that we've discovered that Casey's Corner is open like right up until the bitter end of the night.
Yes.
That's going to be a new play for me regardless. So I love that. Okay, best value restaurant, best value pool.
Oh, wow. Best value pool. If I don't say this, I'm going to get evicted
in trouble?
from podcast land. I don't. How can you not say the Finding Nemo pool at Art of Animation? I mean, I'm one that if I'm not staying there, I just want to go stand outside
and look at it
from afar.
Oh, yeah. Clint just wants to wish you were staying there and be like, oh, this looks fun. Yeah, I think that's an obvious one. Unless you have some kind of attachment to, do I think Lucas would get a particular kick out of a guitar-shaped pool? I do. Is that possible that your 14-year-old who's a musician would love that? Maybe. But this pool is really fun.
Oh, it's ridiculously good.
It's so good. Okay, and then the value resort that you find yourself talking to people about the most.
Wow. I'm really going to say, and this one may be a surprise, but All-Star Music is one that I find myself talking to families a lot about. And the reason is, I think sports, just being a handful of dollars cheaper on the regular, it gets a lot more play, which means the availability really ebbs and flows at sports, right?
Yeah.
Music is consistent.
Mm-hmm.
It's always there. You get that option of a family suite. You can, it's great value. It is a go-to in this particular category because it's got the perfect blend of type of room and price.
Nice. I love that. Okay. And then last but not least, we will add best memory at a value resort so far.
Best memory is actually, this is funny, because it was on our last trip with our kids when we stayed for our Thanksgiving trip this last fall. And that is, Terry Ann and I arrived a day early. We went and kicked around some resorts, just kind of opening up my Disney knowledge by visiting multiple resorts.
Yeah.
So then we stayed the night, and the next morning our kids are driving in from Georgia.
Yeah.
And literally it is, we're stalking them as parents can do. And I'm glad my parents couldn't when I was a kid through Life 360, right? And we know that they are like on property. Then they're like at the stoplight.
Right.
Then they're, getting ready to turn in onto the All-Star Sports. They're at the gate. And so it's that walking out and meeting them in the parking lot and us getting to be, all of us, on Disney property together for the very first time ever.
Aww.
That was, like, we had all stayed separately.
Yeah. But not all together.
Not all together.
And you don't get to see them every day of your life, right? So the reunion in and of itself is sweet. And then I can imagine the excited energy of we're about to have a week at Disney.
Oh yeah, it was through the roof, right? I mean, they were stoked, we were stoked, and all of it happening in a nondescript parking lot at All-Star Sports.
I love that. And that is such a good example of also why, your resort matters and also who you're there with. That just matters a lot more.
And the other thing is, again, this podcast doesn't exist without All-Star Sports.
It's true. Without All-Star Sports, rope drop lineup. That's how Clint and I met. So there's always an appreciation of All-Star Sports there.
Amen. So, all right, for our listeners, if you've loved this episode and all the other episodes that we put out so far, please like and subscribe to the podcast. Recommend it to your friends. Leave us a 5-star Apple review. We will read it on air. Leave us some comments. If there are reasons that you think these resorts are fantastic, throw it out there. We will bring it to the show. And so, Jenna, we're on the socials.
We are at Enchanted Parks and Ports. Come hang out with us on Instagram. Also, we plan Disney vacations. I don't know if you picked up on that yet or not, but if you are planning to consider staying on site, we would love to help you out. You can find our information in the show notes to reach out to either one of us to get planning, and we would love to help you for no cost to you.
No cost to you. We're willing to stay on hold with Disney. We're willing to get up at ungodly hours so you don't have to. It's all the things and help to make your decision fatigue around Disney planning a lot less.
Yeah, absolutely. We all can use that right now. One less thing on the brain feels necessary for anyone at this moment. All right.
Friend. So for another week, Jenna, let's remind our listeners.
Adventure is out there. Bye, friends.